Hello, everybody. It's George here. Today, we're going to be looking at Bolton versus Reading. We're going to be having a look at a few different shapes that I found that we did. We're going to be analysing our goal and theirs, and we're going to look at a few statistics from the game and how you can see that on the pitch. We're going to be looking at the numbers and how that translates into what we see. Um, so here, just to start off with, Randall really impressed me a little bit yesterday. Really impressed me a little bit. He did impress me with how aggressive he was. Something he definitely got slated for last year, and it's not really something that's a quality you would say he oozes. Um, but yesterday he really put himself about. Here again, we Randall challenges for the ball with this player here, which allows us to then pick up the second ball because if he doesn't challenge this player, maybe goes and picks up the ball, it doesn't bounce back to Simmons. And if you look at how many players we have around the box, we were very aggressive in that first half. See here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players in and around that box. We put the ball in, it's come back out, and we regain possession. And I think this is how we ended up really playing in their half. In that first half, we most of the play was played around here, and if it was played deeper, it was Simmons and Aaron just knocking it around the midfield. If you look at the shape here as well, the fullbacks are in line with the two deepest midfielders to create that four, which means that these have to come and press in some sort of way, which should then leave the gaps here. You can see against Sissoko's that high left. He did have a header at one point in the game, and it was a very poor header. He probably should have done better, but he got himself into the position. And you can see he's almost playing that left forward role alongside Burstow up front, with Mario dropping in next to Randall, almost in that second 10 spot. And it creates a lot of bunching here, which allows Simmons to get his shot off. But I just wanted to highlight this as the counter press when we did lose the ball or we put it into the box and it came out. In that first half, we was winning it back in these areas very quickly. It's just a little bit of play I wanted to look at. It ends up in Erahan getting a left-footed ball into the box. It's Sissoko that comes onto the ball as well, the header I was just on about. But it comes from a Mario playing this inside position again. And what's really nice about here is the movement from Burstow, because Burstow moves across onto this centre-back, meaning that this one has to pass him on. And in that split second of him passing it on, it allows Burstow to show feet and pick the ball up. And Mario's being doubled up on, and he was doubled up on a lot in this game, but he did quite well. It's the first 15 minutes he didn't get onto the ball too much because he had two players on him. But as the game progressed, he ended up doing really well in dragging players out of position. So we end up going into Burstow here, who shows feet. Very good movement from Burstow. He plays it out wide, and then he pins this centre back, which allows Erahan to then be the spare man, as you'll see in a sec. Burstow's come across, he's picked the ball up, he's played it out to Tutu, who's playing this high wide role, which again allows cozier-duberry to sit inside a little bit more. Burstow then pins this centre back rather than going and getting in the box himself. He pins this centre back because he stays around this position, which means this centre back can't leave him because Tutu can get the cross in. He's open in the middle then, and obviously you can't allow that. So that means this midfielder has to come out to help his fullback, because otherwise it's a 1v1. And again, in this position, you can't allow 1v1s from a defensive point of view. So it's good movement overall that then allows Erahan here as the spare man to just come and pick that ball up. And the midfielder's gone. He's created that 2v1 so that Osiatutu can't just drive at his man and put a ball in. Burstow's pinning the centre back here so that he couldn't be the one to go and create the 2v1. And Erahan ends up as the free man here, which then gives him the time and space to put that left-footed ball in. And we're seeing this more and more often now. When Cogley played left-back for the game against Sheffield Wednesday, we saw it where he put the right-footed ball in. We're seeing it a lot where we're putting opposite-footed balls into the box, and I think that's because we want to get them moving backwards. Because if they're moving backwards with a cross, that clearance is then more likely to drop into the zone where we pick it up again. I mean, that's a very good shape. You've got Simmons sitting in, you've got Randall here, Conway up there, got your right back here. It's a very good setup to win the ball back if it comes back out. We end up getting the ball in. Sissoko should do better with the header, but at least he's getting into these positions. Again, looking at Mario picks the ball up here and he drives into this space, and this is where he hits the post. But he drops into that almost right central midfield role, which caused their midfields a lot of problems in the first half, because this man here, which I think is Charlie Savage, ended up just having to watch Mario all the time, which left the other three midfielders in a bit of space as the game progressed. We're very left heavy here. If you look at the amount of players we have on this left hand side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it ends up coming back and Simmons picks the ball up and feeds it straight into a Mario. But because we're so left heavy, it allows this space here. Because Jordi Osietu is somewhere out wide down here. The centre backs can't move into this position because then you get a run from Burstow. If he drops in, then you're just allowing a Mario to pick the ball up. So we end up getting it in, and a Mario takes this space here very, very nicely and gets a very good shot off. I'd highlight Bolton's pass map. This is available on the Opta Analyst website if any of you want to go and have a look for yourselves. You can see Randall is slightly on the left of Burstow. You can see here Erehun plays a lot further left with Simmons sitting in the middle. The pass map shows cozier-duberry picking it up a lot further up, and that's because in the second half he did start to pick it up a lot further up. But you can see the space created here that isn't here. And that's because we wanted to create the space to get cozier-duberry in and Osietu out wide. Osietu didn't have the greatest of games in terms of he underplayed a couple of passes, a couple of key passes that would have kept moves going. But defensively, I thought he was actually quite good yesterday. But this is just highlighting that shift, that tilt in play a little bit. We saw Erehun dropping in to create a back three at times as well, which really allowed Conway to push on. So yeah, this is just the pass map and the shape that we were most often on the ball. Compare that to Reading's shape, it shows that we really did dominate the game. Obviously, they played a lot more direct. They're away from home. You would expect that, but if you look at the lines into the forward, there's hardly any. We really controlled this area of the pitch. And if you look at how deep the line is as well compared to where ours was, it's a very, very contrasting image, and it does show that we dominated most of the play. We stopped them playing. We limited them to very little. Unfortunately, they took what we did allow them. This is every successful pass that Erehun made. And as you can see, I mean, don't get me wrong, he was all over that pitch. He put a real shift in yesterday, but you can see it's very left heavy. Obviously because he's a left-footed player, but you can see here that the amount right on the edge of his box where he has dropped into that left centre half role. And then there's a few really wide, and this is where we saw Conway sort of pushing into the middle. So I thought I'd show Erehun's passing map because it does show that he was almost playing as that left-sided midfielder with Simmons in the middle on his own. Which really allowed us to create that space, especially in the first half. It didn't work quite as well in the second half. When Mario has picked the ball up, he's ran into that space, he's took it. Osietu is an option out wide, but he takes the shot, he hits the post. It was a very good shot. We was a little bit unlucky with this one. To highlight this little image here, because this is where Erehun and Simmons have just played a little 1-2 past the forward player. And it was a really nice moment to see because can't recall too many times where I've seen our two centre mids outplaying the opposition quite in the way we did in that first half. But I thought I'd highlight why he got the space to do it. So in this particular incident here where they played the 1-2 and Erehun's now got all of this space to move into. See, Conway's the man free out here. Burstow is showing feet. You can see by his hand movement, the way he's moving, he's showing feet. And you can see here, their deepest midfielder is scanning to see if he is showing feet. So this occupies him. He can't go and press Erehun now because it gets played round him. The centre-back comes out. Maybe that run happens. We play through very, very comfortably if this happens. This midfielder can't go out to him because Mario is occupying this position that we've just looked at again. And this midfielder can't go to him because Randall's occupying the same position on the left-hand side. So it allowed our midfield an awful lot of space in here. To highlight this is Mario Cozier-Duberry's successful dribbles in the game. Now, he got 7, that's an incredibly high number of successful dribbles to get in a game. To put that into comparison, the second highest number of dribbles in the game was Kevin Abrefa, hopefully I've pronounced that right, with 3. So he's over double the second highest player. Our second highest player for successful dribbles was Ethan Erehun with 1. So it shows his dribbling ability at this level is genuinely frightening. But I wanted to highlight here the position he picked them up in. As you can see, most of the successful dribbles are in the sort of middle area, or more middle than they are where you would expect. This here is where you would expect a typical out-and-out winger to be completing successful dribbles. He picks them up in slightly different areas, which again highlights that position he picks up as almost a right attacking midfielder a lot of the time. The second half, and we started the second half off really, really well. And this is the goal. And I just wanted to highlight that this man here should really be marking Burstow, but he isn't because of cozier-duberry. They go 3 on him out here just before he plays the ball back to Burstow. Burstow's very, very smart in the way he moves. He just sort of drifts in as cozier-duberry's got the ball. He doesn't make a lung bursting run into the box, which will attract attention from the defenders. He just sort of coasts in. And then they go 3 on 1 against cozier-duberry. Presumably, they're expecting him to cut in and try and shoot. I mean, he did have 7 shots in the game. You can see why they would think that. But cozier-duberry makes the smart pass in this situation. Burstow gets his shot off, lucky deflection. But if you don't shoot, it doesn't go in. And it was a really nice little bit of interplay with Burstow, just the way, as I say, the way he made that movement. And this goal doesn't happen if it's not for cozier-duberry's dribbling ability and shooting ability, because they don't put 3 men on him if it's not for his ability. So I just wanted to highlight that there. The problem I think we saw a bit more in the second half. We had 21 shots, which is great. 4 on target is not great. And I feel like we rushed it a little bit in the final third. Now, here's when Mario takes the right-footed shot and it goes wide. Now, I'm not saying our players shouldn't be shooting. Like, it's brilliant to see shooting. Can he play this back here? And you look here, we've got the spare man out here, and I know then that's a 1 and a 2. They maybe shift over. But Burstow, if he can just get a little touch in, Burstow's got a much easier angle at a strike. If he can roll it even further to Randall, that's a brilliant angle for a strike. I can see why he takes a shot on, because the defender's trying to show him outside because he doesn't want him cutting in. So I can understand it from that point of view. But there was a few times where we got into that final third and maybe there was a better option. As I say, it's easier to say this in a still image than when it's going at full pace. But maybe we could have played it across here, and there was a few circumstances a bit like this where we just rushed the final third a little bit. Contrast of cozier-duberry maybe rushing the attacks a little bit. Sissoko was a little bit too casual for me yesterday. There were some really nice moments where he picked it up out here and he let the ball run through his legs and he beat his man. He's clearly an exciting player, clearly a talented player. There were a couple of occasions he looked a little bit too casual for me. This is one. We ended up winning the free kick, which we didn't score from, obviously. So we won the free kick, so it didn't come to nothing. But here, he tries to take it past this man again. And I can see why. If he beats that man, he can get a shot off, or he's wide open then. But again here, Burstow's open to feet. That's a little then flick here, Conway's in. You can play cozier-duberry, that's probably not the correct ball in this circumstance. But just touching it back onto your left foot and playing Conway is definitely a better option than what we go for. He was just a little bit too casual, and you'll see that in another still image I've got coming up in a little bit. Just a little bit too casual at times. But maybe that's the sharpness and not really having time to play with the squad yet. Maybe we'll see that improve as he goes on. Here, another circumstance where I think we've rushed the attack slightly. The ball's been played here, so Tutu would have been slightly deeper. But if you look at where they're positioning, we've took these 2 out of the game. Randall gets his shot off, and again, it's good to see Randall shooting. He looked good yesterday. He looked like a player with confidence. But with the way cozier-duberry's coming in, Tutu's going to be wide open down there. And if you can get it down there, by the time it goes there, maybe these 2 get in the box, but these 2 also probably get in the box, and you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a crossing opportunity. That's the opportunity where you can get it out wide, get a low ball into the box, and create a little bit of chaos. And I don't think we did that side of the game brilliantly yesterday. I think we've rushed it a little bit too much. But again, I think that's something we're going to see improve over the season. And again, I'm definitely not saying we shouldn't be shooting. Like, if this goes in, this isn't even something we talk about. We just say, wow, what a brilliant goal. But yeah, I just thought I'd highlight that there was a couple of occasions in that second half where we could have took our time that little bit more. And in the last still image, as I said, there was occasions in that second half where Sissoko particularly could have played it a little bit quicker. We seemed to just get the decision-making slightly wrong in the key areas yesterday. I think that was a big problem for us. Speaking of times where we can hit that box, it was a lovely bit of play out here between cozier-duberry and Sissoko. He did really well. He put it through the man's legs. But then he tries to do it again here. I think this is just after he's tried to put it through his legs and it's come back. And I think we ended up recycling it anyway. But when he picked the ball up here, rather than going through his legs again, just hit that low into the box. It can take a deflection. Maybe Burstow gets on the end of it. Maybe it comes back out. But if you look at the amount of space here, we've then got someone coming onto it. Then just decision making, just a little bit of casualness where we could create that little bit of chaos in the box that scores you goals. We saw from the goal we scored, it weren't clean, fantastic 18 pass move that's then led into a really clean finish. It was a nice little pass from someone creating a little bit of space that's took the shot, that's caused the chaos, that's got the goal. And I think we didn't do that as much as we could have yesterday. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons we didn't pick up the result. The bit that I've really not been looking forward to is the goal. It's a frustrating goal to concede. Maka tries to make this run out here. And at the time in the game it is, could he maybe just sit here and pick that ball up and then look to switch to Thierry, or try and then just hold the ball himself? Because at this point, we are defending a 1-0 lead. We dropped off massively at this point, and that's something we see Bolton do we've seen us do quite a lot in recent years, where we drop off way more than we should. But we had the opportunities to then get out from that, and you don't mind dropping in deep and defending your box if then when you win the ball, you go and get out and you waste a little bit of time in their half, right? But Maka tries to make this run. And I can see why, because if he makes the run and this man follows him and Dolby holds onto the ball, he then can play this ball to Thierry. We get out. It is a poor ball from Dolby. It is. There's no excuses on that one. Well, there is one excuse, the fact the man's had no pre-season and is clearly lacking sharpness. So I'm not going to blame Dolby entirely for this. I'm not going to blame Maka entirely for this as well. It can see what he's trying to do. It was just maybe the wrong option at the time. I think the reason Maka makes this run rather than playing the safer route of sitting in and picking the ball up is because he was chasing the game. Yeah, he come on, he made that poor first touch when the balls first come into him. The crowd groans, which you expect, sort of. And there's a lot of people getting on his back at the minute. And I feel like he tried too hard after that moment. He weren't playing his game. He was chasing the game, which for a player, that's never a good thing to be doing, especially if you come on with 10, 15 minutes left. If your first touch is poor and you then go chasing the game, you're not in the right mindset. You're not settled on the pitch yet. And I did feel a little bit sorry for him yesterday because of that. Because if that first touch he takes is good, maybe he goes on to have a different game. It was a little bit unlucky that it had to be a player that I'm sure himself would say has not had the greatest start to the season. If that's a Mario coming off the bench and he takes first touch and he's chasing the game, people don't get on his back as much. But yeah, it's a frustrating goal. The pass was not good. And now we go to the second phase where they've won the ball in here and they've got it out wide. Now Conway naively jumps here. If he sticks with his man, they don't get this space, but maybe he goes and it's a 2v1 anyway. He's struggling. But if he can try and delay this, maybe Sheehan gets back in time. Sheehan is slightly out of position. Maybe he could have been here, but again, we was just going forward. So if you commit numbers forward when you're winning 1-0 to try and keep the ball in their half and it goes wrong, this is what can happen. But as you can see, these four are completely taken out of the game. Another one that's out of position because we've been trying to get forward. It was just a poor turnover to concede. Again, yeah, Conway was a bit naive in the way he's jumped in, but that's one of the only real negatives I can say from him from the whole of the first 4 games. So I'm not going to be too harsh on him there. Difference between the still image and the last one and now, Sheehan's now back in, and he made that run, and just as he got there, he almost took a little shuffle backwards. Now, the only thing I can presume why he's done that is he's trying to block off a pass on the edge, maybe. I mean, there isn't anyone there, but that's the only reason I can think or maybe he is just trying to stop himself and he just gets his distances slightly wrong. So it's not great from Sheehan, but he tries to get back in. He just makes maybe the wrong decision at the end. Johnston, can he send him on outside rather than inside? Maybe. I think he tries to send him inside because he sees Sheehan running, and then you're sending him into a crowded area. You would expect the 2 players here to be able to block this shot. And I've watched it back as well. I was looking at still images of the shot, and I still can't tell whether it's taken a deflection or not. When you look at it full speed, it looks like it's definitely taken a deflection. But when you watch it back in really, really slowly, like go from second to second of the freeze frames, I'm not sure it did take a deflection, or if it was, it weren't as big as it looked at first. It was a rather good strike. Teddy can't do an awful lot. I'll be honest, it's a little bit unlucky from his point of view. He can't do an awful lot. Can Johnson send him out right? He can. As I've said, he probably sends him in because he thinks that these two will be able to block it. If he does send him out wide, he does have the problem of there's three of their players in the box. So if he does go and get that right-footed ball across, he especially is probably scoring at that back post. So I think we lost it in the turnover and when Max jumped. I think from here, it's a lot. You're fighting a losing battle already, in my opinion. To finish off, I just wanted to um, focus on the stats between the first half and the second half and the contrast. I mean, the possession straight away is a big contrast. First half, 73%, second half, 54%. And as I said at the start of the video, the reason we was playing in their half so much was because our counter press was so good. And I don't know whether it's they figured out the counter press, or we tired towards the end of the game and the substitutes didn't have the impact. I mean, the substitutes definitely didn't have the impact that Schumacher would have wanted, but it's whether their press was as intense, which it weren't. We dropped off. So you're going to see it naturally where they pick up. If you're winning 1-0 and there's 10 minutes left, the other team is going to have more possession than you, more times than not for that last 10 minutes. Like that is the way football works. However, the thing that really stands out to me is the possession lost in defensive half. If you look in the first half, we took the ball off them 31 times in their half to 16 in the second. So it's dropped off by nearly half, which shows that, again, either they figured out how to play around us or we dropped off, which is a little bit of a problem going forward if we continue to see that. So I just wanted to highlight that I think that's where they got the... You could see it watching the game. You could see that as the second half went on, they started to take over. Their right back started to move into midfield a little bit, which created a 2, and they started to play around that. So they did figure it out, but we dropped off and we caused our own problems as well. So overall, the positives to take from the performance, I thought Cozier-Duberry were brilliant. I thought, especially in the first half, Erahan and Simmons in the middle were brilliant. I thought Burstow was very good. He makes very, very smart movements and he's an aggressive striker. Sissoko showed glimpses. Conway looked good overall. Again, there's the naivety for the goal. But if you take that out of the game, solid game from him. So there's definitely positives. I think the negatives, when you have as much of the ball as we did and as many shots as we did, you have to score more than one goal. And I know we're very early on in the season, but 4 goals in 4 games isn't fantastic reading. It's not fantastic reading. It's a very small sample size, though. So as the season goes on, that's when you'll be able to judge that more and more. And again, they're a very new team. It's a very new team. A lot of them players haven't played much together at all. So it is going to take that little bit of time of bedding in, unfortunately. There's positives to take, as I've said. There is them negatives of the game management that we've seen before. It was frustrating in the stadium because you could see that goal coming 5 to 10 minutes before it came. And we've felt that a lot, Bolton fans, in recent years. And it is frustrating. But as I say, there's positives, there's negatives. The result is the negative. It's 2 points dropped. We should have won that game. The way we played, we should have won that game. The statistics, we should have won that game. What went wrong? We dropped off a little bit and we made poor turnover at a very poor time in the game. This has been a slightly longer video today, guys. I really do hope you've enjoyed it. I've tried to add a few different things in, looking at a few more statistics and things like that. If you enjoyed that, please let me know. Any likes, shares, or comments are massively, massively appreciated. I've been blown away with the support I've received so far. As I say, really hope you've enjoyed the video, and I shall catch you next time.